I know you have one more of those issues, but
Go ahead.
taking that opportunity there, definitely, we know that this battle is not just cultural, political, it's also spiritual. And I think keeping that spiritual perspective and knowing that we contend not just with the homosexual movement, with a particular moment in culture, but there are actually demonic forces. There are kingdom realities here at play. And it's so important that we keep that in mind. Do you find that that helps somehow as you do different things, that we're contending at also a much deeper level? As Paul says, we contend not just with blood and flesh, but with principalities and powers. I think that probably helps you somehow.
Oh, it really does. It really does, to keep that in tow. And then I got a wonderful, wonderful exhortation and something of a chastening and spanking from Jay Sekulow one time, where I was complaining about, I got on all these interviews, especially radio, some on TV, where they introduce you with these big introduction, blah, 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 and this guy's this, and what do you think about this, sir? As though they were on my side. I tell them what I think, then as soon as I get it out,
then they hit you.
They hit you every which way, and they start having people call in, and they call in your names, your face. And
psychological warfare.
It really is.
These interviews can be.
It can be, and you've been there, obviously. But Jay said, look, what do you expect? He said, what you are getting now is the fact that you have gotten a chance to go onto their territory and tell your story. The people who are on that other end of the microphone or in that television studio, they really don't believe like you believe. You get to talk to the other side, the other team. So understand you're going to take your lumps and go with a victorious, courageous attitude, because now maybe it's 2%, maybe it's 5%, whatever that number is, they get a chance to hear.
So live right, do right, move right, pray right,
and then speak right. And what I mean by that is, just like we alluded to earlier about the whole same-sex marriage thing in Florida, and I said, I'm not going to try to mess with your presidential politics. We're just going to talk about marriage. We have to stay on whatever our message is. There are too many things to address and change in a broader world context, meaning if I'm building a coalition, which we have done, to defend marriage in Washington, D.C., for example, some of the guys who come and join me in the outer circles of my relationships may have what I would think Christian but spurious doctrine, a little off. Others, as I get into political power, may be like the Mormons, who I love as people of character, and they helped us a lot in D.C. But do I believe all Mormons are Christians? No. Am I willing to work with them? Yes, under certain circumstances. And in that setting, I can't be every week saying, Joseph Smith, here's my opinion. So I think there's this wisdom we've got to have that you're on an assignment, and if you're going to be a networker, bridge builder, that there's a message Christ has burned in your heart. Now later on, I've had many of my Mormon friends who come up who are there just in the culture who said to me things like this: we love what you stand for so much. And one person said, if I were a Mormon, I'd be at your church.
And there's so many powerful ways of testifying. We live in such a complex culture that is not just reading the 4 spiritual laws and giving people a tract. Sometimes by your relationship, winsomeness, the complexity of your message, your personality, the love that you exude, sometimes that can prepare the way for later on the gospel impacting those places where we move. For example, with Jews and so on. We just had the Israeli consul in Boston come and visit our church. Wow. And of course, we didn't preach to him, but we let him see the love that we felt for his country, and that really impacted him so tremendously. So, we gotta just avoid that thing of getting payback right away. Sometimes we want and take the long view, because in the battle that we need all kinds of allies, and we got to be really complex without abandoning the goal at hand and our own distinctives.
Yeah. I mean, that's so well said. So I think that's one of the reasons why we've had so little social action fruit in, let's say, the last couple of decades in the Christian movement, is because we are impatient with people of different belief systems within like different denominational structures. And then when we get to someone who's of another faith, oh my goodness. I think your words of exhortation to be patient and let people see the gospel. They know my stance. They begin to hear more from me. They sense that I accept them as people. And I think that's so true. And in D.C., when they did the big marriage battle in D.C., we had Muslims, Jews, Mormons, and anybody else that would come and stand and say, we want marriage to be between one man and a woman. And out of it, though, Doc, it was amazing. One last very brief story. I was on the news one time during this marriage amendment thing in D.C., and it was really a challenging season of time where everybody I debated wanted to try to let loose and try to call me names and even on the air. And I found myself at times winning the battle in terms of what I would call spiritual attitude without having the time to answer every question, because they took more time than they should have taken. But I refused to let myself get in that angry place where, wait a minute, you didn't let me talk, or anything like that. And I felt that people who were observant would also...
Yes, they'll be watching.
They'll be watching
the moves and the way we speak, as you're saying, and all kinds of other subtext.
Yeah.
Beyond just the one that's out there.
So one Sunday morning, a man shows up in my church, and he's sitting on the edge of his seat. We were very concerned. My elders and ushers were watching this guy. He had a set of tattoos down the right side of his arm, looked like stripes, like he looked like he was trying to be a Tony the Tiger replica. I mean, the guy had huge weightlifter muscles and this tattoo. He sat there and he stared at me the whole time. And it was an interesting thing. Guys were ready to go get him. And by this time, we'd had all kinds of threats. After the service, prayer, etc., I think he stood up for some prayer or something we did. On my way out, I'd go greet the people in the foyer. This gentleman came and approached me and he said, do you know what? I saw you in the news this weekend. And the only thing I was on the news was about this whole same-sex marriage battle. And he said, I looked at you and I said, that guy has something I don't have. You really believe in what you're saying. I said, yeah. He said, I haven't been in church. He had not been in church for years. But he said, I had to come see the man that spoke like that on television. And my goodness, that touched my heart.